可以啦。Okay.
开玩笑，可以做可以做。
There are spaces in the front.
你的位置是什么？
来。
Cameraman。
Okay. My name is Terence. Right. Hi everyone. I'm responsible for all our WMNCs, and I miss Taiwan. I've had many privileges to work with colleagues in the earlier generation through my career, and I actually have had a short break before actually coming back after a few years. So I'm glad to be back again. In many ways, this trip was for me to actually meet a number of MNC subsidiaries here in Taiwan. But actually, one of my most important tasks was to bring what we are doing as a bank, across the bank in digital transformation, to all of you. It is to bring also early insights on what we are doing in not just GTS, but also in TNM, across the bank, in India, in China, not just in Singapore. And for you to understand that all of this is actually going to be available also in Taiwan. But more importantly, many of you may be also in RG 1 to 3, where your customers don't just look at DBS as a bank here in Taiwan, but a bank that is across the Asian markets. And I want you to be able to know how to position DBS as a digital transformation partner, not just for their business here in Taiwan, but as they look to address markets in India, in Hong Kong, in China, right, in Indonesia, okay? And I hope to give you a very simple framework that you can actually do two things, okay? And you tell me whether I'm successful at the end. The two things you'll get is a framework that you can explain to a client in a meeting. You must take no more than, let's say, 20 minutes to go through. You don't need to do deep dive sales. Okay? You just need to do this as an introduction of why we think DBS is a digital transformation partner, and in what areas are we doing that, in such a way that it gives them the confidence to bring out their digital challenges, their digital strategy, right? And areas that they want to work on as a company. Okay? So your only job is to introduce, win the confidence, and extract what are your digital priorities. Are you going through digital transformation? In what area? And in what area can we maybe explore going forward? Okay? That is the aim of today. But sometimes you actually don't have enough time, and I also want to leave you with what is the 5 or 2 minute elevator pitch of why is DBS a digital bank? Why are we world's best bank? Because of innovation and digitalization. Okay? So this is the two aims. If we have time, I will go through, of course, go through Q&A, but I'll also like to go through a preview of things like FX API. Because you hear a lot on GTS payments and collection and reporting API, but there's also a whole bunch of work being done on the FX side as well. All right, so if we have time, we can go through that. But let me just start with the framework that we go through. In many ways, you can think of it as like a butterfly diagram. The first part that we'll go through is around what we're doing on changing the customer experience. Right? As well as what I call last mile receivable management. Okay, what does this really mean? It means the customers today, as you know, are very exposed to things like QR, but more importantly, it's around how do you use instant collection and instant payment as a mode to improve not just the B2C. Many people use QR in the context of B2C. It actually is very powerful for many of your clients in B to small b, around killing check, not just killing cash. Okay? And combining it with many of what you know is the important advances that we're doing with reconciliation, with VA and on-call. Okay? I take it you will be familiar with VA and on-call, all right? Because then otherwise GTS hasn't done the 101 part. So the important thing is that you start with, look, we are transforming how we're using instant collection and payments. And we have many use cases of how to do it, right? Today, many of our MNC clients around the world are looking at challenges of how to actually reduce the working capital time between them and their distributor and retailers. And all of that working capital is actually tied up because you can't reconcile, you have to process a check and reduce that cycle time, right? Now all of this, we have many use cases in different markets, some using QR, but even in Taiwan, you can use EACH, right? As the means through which you can extract and pull payments. And in many markets where we do also use QR, UPI in India, Faster in Hong Kong, Fast in Singapore, Bersama in Indonesia, there are ways where in those markets where check has always been very, very heavy. So your clients that have businesses there will have these issues, right? So we have really good solutions where, such as we call it DBS Max, right? It is we can actually not just give people QRs, but we embed it into their front office, their delivery person's point of sale, their iPad, their little device when they go and deliver goods and collect money, right? All of this is actually very powerful in the front office. So all of this is around the last mile receivable management. But I would say as well, the customer experience part is very important where we are looking at loyalty and rebates. Today, many of you in B2C know about loyalty and rebates through your credit card. Credit card costs 2% or 2.5%, sometimes 3%, right? To all our merchants. And in many ways, we are building many cases, actually a lot of fintechs around the world, and DBS is one of the fintechs, actually are disintermediating the credit card by actually saying, look, client, you are paying 2.5%, let me take 1% and go and buy loyalty miles, right? That you can have for EVA, for Singapore, for Cathay, all those miles, you can actually build a loyalty program. You can use the means of actually connecting using mobile phones between your customers and the end customer for rebates. If we showcase to one of our beer customers, right, how they can go to the store using a scan technology, get the end customer that has bought 6 bottles to actually get a redemption of 1 free bottle, but that merchant is out of pocket. How do they go and redeem that 1 extra bottle from the beer OEM, right? All of this actually can be fired through one network using, in some markets, it's QR technology, right? That is something we're still working on in Taiwan, but I think in many locations where there are many consumer good companies that actually, that you may bank, that are overseas, where this loyalty type program is very important. For a company called Decathlon, a sports goods company, we are using some of this technology to also enhance the refund capability of the clients when they go to the store. When you go to the store and return some goods, a piece of clothing that you bought on e-commerce, or you bought at another store and you actually, it's the wrong size, the wrong color. Right? Now, the other big area that we're working on is around supply chain. many of you know about supply chain finance, but actually what we're doing is really so much richer in supply chain. So the next category is called unlocking supply chain constraints. What do I mean here? Going away from traditional supply chain finance, we now are able to use our technology, partnering with fintech sometimes, to actually look at a company's vendor group, not just as one big group of vendors, but different groups of vendors and what's important to the company in their relationship with the vendor. A very good example is a very important buzzword called sustainability. Right? Around sustainability, we partnered a few traceability platforms, and what that means is that it allows you to actually look at how the payments go all the way through multiple tiers of suppliers. Today, in the rubber industry, we've partnered, actually also invested in a company that actually can trace the rubber from farmer all the way down through the different aggregators to the end user, because Goodyear, Michelin, Continental, Bridgestone all want their rubber sourced from sustainable sources. The end consumer is expecting that, right? The CFO for the region said to me 3 years ago, sustainability was a very big strategic importance. Now it is the only thing we work on because it is so important to the industry. For Walmart, for all Walmart's stores, they, through one bad instance for a recall, that they could not get traceability of a defective product. It took them 10 to even 2 weeks to identify which batch of goods it came from up the supply chain so that they could stop and identify which stores had this thing. They lost a lot of money. And so all their vendors, from P&G to Unilever to Nestle, all had to be tasked to actually come up with a much faster way to get food safety recall. Now, while these may seem to be like very global trends, the reality is that in markets like Indonesia, we are deploying for rubber, for cocoa, for palm oil, for coconut, right? Traceability. In India, we've got traceability solutions that go to the seed farmer for a crops manufacturer. All right. So in Vietnam, we have a food health safety for chicken feed stock. So it's not just something that is deployed in a very developed market. We have traceability platforms and partners that we can actually do this in Indonesia and in Vietnam, right? In emerging markets. But what does DBS do? DBS looks at using our payment APIs to make sure that we can trace that payment all the way up the stream, so that the end actor knows that the payments that have been made has got to the source. And in this case, the farmer that has produced the sustainable goods, the intermediate company that has not commingled it with other goods. But more importantly, also in the context of financing, we've been able to look at, can we give a sustainability discount or an incentive to promote the deployment of sustainable supply chain versus not so sustainable supply chain. So I think in many of these areas, there's not that many banks that are inventing this very important issue of traceability and incentives around this important area of sustainability. Okay? Now, this is sustainability. As you know, many of us have been exposed to our ecosystem play. Pre-shipment and post-shipment financing now is actually something many of us should actually be talking about. Our credit teams are working on how do we enhance not just on the analytical based lending, but just programs around pre-shipment that is linked to post-shipment invoices. So in other words, just like we have an SME business, we can offer PO financing, right? Now, what the power of PO financing is actually twofold. One is that you're actually adding additional capacity to the supply chain of your customer. It's more important in the areas where your big cap customer is looking to launch a new product or new business line, where additional capacity is something that the SME supplier doesn't immediately have, even though the big anchor may have all the investment and CapEx capability to do so, right? So how do you actually get PO financing to the SME supplier? It's because today we'll have the data interchange, right? We will be able to match invoices with POs, not just one-to-one, but we've got our programs that do multiple POs, batch to multiple invoice batches, one to many, many to one, one to one, many to many. So all of that is actually enabled, right? So in the past, you can think, oh, it's actually, the theory was only one-to-one, right? But the reality of many of our client supply chains is actually many to many. Okay, so all of that is available. But more importantly, many of our clients in IBG1 have very low utilization of their post-shipment supply chain finance, the DPO extension, because not many suppliers actually take it up, right? And therefore, they don't get the DPO benefit, right, as much as they thought. So some banks only focus on post-shipment. You will get some limitation on utilization. So how do you break that? We break it by saying that if I can offer the PO financing and you offer me the data, right, of the issuance of the PO directly from you, reduces the fraud risk from me. The invoice that is supposed to be paid confirmed by you, I can match it off and knock off the PO financing. Today, our credit teams are willing to move from a standalone PO financing that may have been 30% of PO or 50% with collateral to, even uncollateralized at 70 to even 80% of PO, right? That without any cost to anybody other than receiving the PO data exchange between ourselves and the anchor, we can add anywhere between 40 to 50% of additional capacity into that supply chain to drive new products off the shelf, into the shelves, right? So I think that is actually something important, but also it helps utilization, because once the supplier has started to take on credit as part of their working capital cycle for the production of those goods, they will naturally want to complete the cycle with the invoice financing, therefore driving up the DPO usage, right? And the utility from the anchor. So I think that's a very important sort of distinction that we need to try and drive. And a lot of it is through data interchange about the POs and the invoices with DBS, right? So the second one is around the use of PO financing and matching. Okay, so this is all around additional capacity. And around sort of DPO utilization. A third area is around, and many of you may get exposed to this, we have a use case now in China called the Wanxiang case study, where initially I thought it was actually an auto supply chain case study. Actually, it's not. What it is a logistical management case study, right? Some of you, I think, please go and ask your GTS colleagues for more details. But what in essence is that in big market, the ability to look at the vendor class of logistic providers that move goods for your customer from the plant on the East Coast to the customers on the West Coast, in the North, in the South, requires a huge logistical network, right? In the case of Wanxiang, it was essentially, how do I manage all the car carriers? You see all these big carriers that put on all the cars on the back of it. How do I manage this entire fleet, right? All throughout the country, but coming from the plants in certain locations only in the country. To make sure when it gets to the dealer has confirmed, I can actually start clocking in the sales I've made to the dealer. I can actually pay the logistics provider. All of these are actually part of more efficient management of logistics in big countries. Now, while the use case in Wanxiang is very much a China use case, the application of this logistical management is no different also in big markets like India. Okay, big land mass, right? And I think many of your clients that actually have production and sales in China will find this very interesting. So this is logistic management. In the fourth area, we find, I actually came back from India. In the last few months, we've been having a partnership with a fintech that offers an online platform where your anchor client can put up their invoices to address the supplier class of the, the thousands, the small packaging supplier, the guy that provides the newspaper, all the smaller vendors that no bank even, might not even fall within the IBG4, right? That no bank actually addresses. And the reality that can constitute 20 to 30% of the DPO of our clients, right? Or the cost of goods of our clients. And therefore, to actually try and get the DPO up with the clients, this is a class of customers that is actually quite unaddressable. Now, today, with a platform that you can actually publish invoices, and these suppliers can log in and bid to actually get early payment, right? This is a means to be able to address this cluster of, in the past, what we call tail suppliers, okay? So in this case, we are even able, through this platform, to offer what we call dynamic discounting. So the anchor provides the invoices and says, here, I'm ready to do early payment. Okay, bank is ready to fund it too, right? But you, as a supplier, need to bid for it. So it goes to the highest price bidder. As you know, what we talked about in theory is that the SME cost of their financing is very high, and the cost of financing of the anchor is very low. So essentially, the supplier, the small supplier, basically has to bid up until whomever is the highest kind of value that they're giving, closest to their own cost of funds, and actually the anchor gets price discovery of how much their early payment is worth, right? So they are actually more what you call fully intermediating the difference between the supplier's cost of funds and their cost of funds through dynamic discounting. Now this is no different than Google and Facebook when advertisers want to go and buy advertising from Google and Facebook. Actually, you have to bid, and you get I think it's called the second price, or second highest price is the price set. So it's a similar algorithm borrowed from what Google and Facebook use, right, for price discovery for the ad space. In this case, it's price discovery for early payment on the invoice. Okay, so in this area, it's called, addressing the last mile or the tail suppliers, right? But while that can be just done on the basic thing with an online platform and an invoice, you can also enhance it with dynamic discounting. Now, no bank in the world, you can read any literature, you can talk to any banks, no bank in the world distinguishes so many different solutions for the vendor classes of your customers, right? And we're doing this because we are very active in going out to find fintech partners, platforms to be able to go and enable important things like sustainability, driving up the DPO utilization, and addressing specific solutions relating to a vendor class. The sustainability vendor class is different from the logistic vendor class. They are both vendor classes, perhaps even in the same company, right? But you have to address it with different solutions, right? Many other banks are still just doing post-shipment invoice financing, okay? So this is where we're also making big strides to make a difference. The fourth one is what we call enabling new business models. So in this area, I think a lot of clients are also having in their digital strategy, going from physical stores to e-commerce, and this is not just in the context of B2C companies. There are many B2B marketplaces, right? We work with metals exchanges, traders that are going into establishing their interface on a portal. And what do we do here? We've got APIs that do onboarding onto the platform, establishing a wallet. You have a credit check that when, many of these exchanges are there for instant settlement. So do they have enough money in the wallet, right? Do we need to go and check if they have enough credit limit? All of these things are APIs that already have been built on live platforms, some in China, some in India, right? That we can actually already enable, right? So, this is actually in B2B marketplace. Obviously, we'd love to be able to do some of these additional channel consolidation using some of these technologies to enable other business models of how to get out to clients, right? But that's where it's a lot more agile to understand what do the clients really need. Some of you have heard of the Maersk use case. I think some of the shipping company clients of those RMs who do shipping might be familiar with it also. That we enable clients that want to suddenly get new financing, right? In Maersk, they move containers. Now they want to also, like a bank, provide financing because they know the containers go from country A to country B and actually get delivered, right? And so they offer financing, but some goods in the container get financed, some goods in the container don't get financed. So we actually help them split. I mean, it's called essentially a POBO or ROBO solution, receivable on behalf, and we pay on their behalf. That's very simple. At the back end, you can think about it like a VA solution, right? But other banks couldn't do that, right? Part of it is, how do you think around the right sort of KYC? Who is your customer? And do you have the right technologies to go and split, right? No different actually, Wei-Lin and some of us yesterday had a similar discussion with a client here in Taiwan, a car company, right? They collect a payment for number one, the deposit down payment, the insurance, the first installment. All of these actually need to go and split into company A that does the insurance, or the insurance agency, B, the sales company, C goes to another account. And all of this splitting is actually enabled through what we can do around VAs in a similar way, all right? So these are enabling new business models. But beyond that, if you can think about e-onboarding using eDDA, right? Today we can actually do a much faster, what you call e-onboarding. We work with insurance companies now, and alongside some of the car companies, we can even work on their e-docs program. So everything is more and more electronic, right? Rather than physical paper. So I think you'll find that many clients are looking at new business models, and we will be using different Lego bricks from these areas to actually complement what we do in new business models, right? The last, which is most classically what we have been selling to our clients, and that's around efficiency of their treasury operations. And what does that really mean? I think in this case, you can focus on two big areas. One is around liquidity management, right? This, I think many of you are exposed to Treasury Prism, so this is more of a centralized management of liquidity, all the cross-border visibility of centralized liquidity management around SWIFT, GPI, around our own internal priority pay between our accounts in different countries, right? For essentially instant settlement or late hour settlement, right? Many companies, many global banks that are already in these multiple countries cannot offer the same late cutoff times as we do on around priority pay, right? So it's one cluster. But the more important cluster right now that's being developed is called import-export digitalization. Okay, now this is very exciting for Taiwan. Last week, McKinsey presented some information to Sushan around the opportunity in different markets. And when they came across Taiwan, they said, Taiwan is actually a very low growth market, banking sector, and all of you, nothing new to you, but very saturated, very competitive, margins are very squeezed, nothing new to you and us as well. But they said, where the wallet is actually growing 10x, where the real wallet is for Taiwan business is actually import-export. Now, it actually is beautiful music to the ears because we're working on a lot of trade digitalization. What does that mean? Starting with things like LCs. Today we have APIs that can go into the ERP of our clients, pull the data from the ERP, pre-populate the LC standard forms, right? From the ERP will be maybe 60% of the fields, CRM system will be another 30% of the fields, there may be a few other authorization items with the authorization API. All these APIs pulled together means the client doesn't actually have to fill out, neither does the client need the bank to fill out, and we don't have to check it either because the client doesn't need to make a checker, we don't need to make a checker. If we pull the information from the right fields from the client's own system. Okay, it eliminates a lot of the manual work around the whole LC journey, right? Again, also LC, not just issuance, collection as well. There are APIs to help that. Now, beyond the LC related digitalization, the other area is around FX. And so this is an evolving area. We're actually working through the use case where the FX API is there to embed the FX to give an FX rate, not just quote a rate, it can execute, close the trade, confirm the trade, as well as do the reporting of that trade, right? So that the client doesn't need to actually call the bank. As part of the deal, it comes out from the ERP, so long as the client agrees at the start, okay, for these days, this is the sort of range I'm willing to have against that daily sort of mid-rate, right? You hit me on whatever rate, you algorithmize the whole FX aspect, right? And with that, with the combination of these two, right, as well as some other work that we're doing on workflow of moving goods and making sure it's supporting docs, what are the supporting docs for different countries, right? This is a big area that's being worked on right now. Now, it's not fully cooked yet. We do have LC APIs, we do have FX APIs, but now it's actually being put together as part of an overall import-export journey, right? It's going to start in China, part of the GBA project. I've also kicked it off for India, and I've spoken to Teresa to make sure that her FX API use cases start building up so that we can then address that wallet that at least McKinsey says is the highest value wallet for Taiwan business. Okay? So these are the things to actually look out for. But actually, I would say more important than all of this, so I'm done. Right? This is all you kind of need to talk about. So if I can just recap, focus around customer experience and last mile receivable management, around the fact that we unlock supply chain constraints by really looking at addressing different needs within the supply chain, sometimes sustainability, sometimes addressing different solutions for different vendor classes for additional capacity, right? And explain, actually give illustration of these. Some of these actually may not all be applicable in Taiwan, right? But for your large cap customers, so many of them are actually in China. So many of them source perhaps even from markets like Vietnam or from Indonesia, right? What the impression I would like you all to be able to leave with your clients is that DBS is actually a very, very fast evolving in its solutions as part of our digital capability set. I couldn't have done this 6 months ago to explain this to you. 3 months ago, half of these things I wouldn't have been able to add. So if you put forward the next 3 months, the next 6 months, there will be even more use cases. But the reality is that the use cases will pretty much focus around customer experience, last mile, supply chain, a new business model, or efficiency of treasury operations. Okay? There are some other ones here that I can actually go through. Some people have shared service centers. In India, we use DigiBank and a few other things. We try and do some rebates and claims efficiencies to manage employees and so on and so forth. You know, but I won't really go through all of those things. Actually, if you find that the clients are interested to talk to us about digitalization, not just in Taiwan, but their businesses overseas, then you call your GTS colleagues and your TNL colleagues, okay? Or your job as RM is to just do the introduction, right? Now, maybe just over 20 minutes. Right? But I also gave it the for you version. Okay, but that's all you need to do. If you only have 2 minutes in the elevator with your client, and you meet them at a conference, come and talk to us about digitalization. We are the best digital bank in the world 2 out of 3 years, right? We are best bank in the world because we've been recognized on digitalization and innovation. What we are doing is around customer changing, reimagining customer experience for you and your end customer, the last mile receivable management, unlocking supply chain, if you've got new business models that you're looking to launch out, and really trying to get a lot of efficiency around, you know, your treasury operations, whether import, export, or liquidity management, right? That's enough. That is actually under 2 minutes. Right? That's all you need to say. By just showcasing the range, it will be the same. Now, so that you know, I've also taken on some additional work to promote cross-border connectivity. I'm hoping over the next few months, we'll start building out the capability set for closing the knowledge gaps of what is India good at, what is China good at, what's Indonesia good at. The reality is a lot of what we're good at to clients, the best of all our countries, will all come around digital solutions, and they will all come around these same 4 clusters. So even for Taiwan, as I speak to Teresa, I speak to Sylvia, and even for yourselves, if you start thinking of what is the best of Taiwan, I hope that we'll all actually be quite consistent in these 4 areas. And then we can just use the same hymn sheet to go and speak about each country. Now, I'll stop there for the moment. I actually wanted to check myself, have I gone through what I was supposed to go through? Basically, present a partner for digital transformation, I think done that. What areas can we reimagine with digital tools there? Where is it deployed? Now, where is it deployed? As you can see, some things are deployed first in China, first in India, some in Indonesia on the supply chain, because maybe locally those are local demands. The QR aspect, that we are really very strong in QR in India. It's not just Singapore. Some people have the impression, oh, you're very good digital in Singapore. Actually, sometimes some clients also think about it that way, right? But actually, no. It's in Singapore, it's in Hong Kong. You know, QR is going to get really a big push in Indonesia, and definitely a strong base in India. So today, the two biggest base of digital work has been in India and in Singapore. China, through the GBA, is really working very hard on new solutions to be deployed through the next few months. All of these things are set up. And guess what? All of this thing will drive operating business and the CASA that we all need. Okay? But this is the sales process, right? Pre-sale, co-create through a discovery process, and then along the way, you will know, okay, do I have this API or not? And this Sylvia and Teresa can then go ahead for reinforcements to say, we've got this client, right? We've got these APIs already. Can we just advance and bring it to Taiwan? Because I'm short of one Lego brick, right? I've got 5 Lego bricks. I need the 6th one to achieve this. Okay. So I think I've also then covered now when. Just do it now, right? We are, as I said, we are evolving very quickly. Every 3 to 6 months, many new additions to this roadmap. Okay, and to be part of that journey, to be part of that, you need to actually be talking to your clients and bringing needs from them. Okay, I can tell you, I look after MNCs. Last year we did 30 discoveries with our clients. And what we discovered is that actually our clients, 80% of our clients said, wow, you guys are 4 or 5 years ahead of us. And I deal with them. These are usually the biggest MNCs in the world, right? That people from the HQ come to us to actually talk to us, what can we do in Asia? We hear you have a digital roadmap, you're very good at digital solutions, what can we do, right? Their boards have assigned, just like we did, 6 or 7 years ago, hey, you need to go through a digital transformation, right? They are looking for partners to realize low-hanging fruit, but also hold their hand through the journey, right? We have had, yesterday evening, Piyush went to a global leadership conference, just as we have, for our management, right? He went to the global leadership conference for digital transformation for Unilever. Spoke to many business managers responsible for around the world, right? Because they know that we have walked that path and we have insights to share, but we also have capabilities. Some of these use cases here are with them. Okay, so I just want to let you know, please have confidence. This is really a very important hook, but it's also a hook that I see in some markets other banks are chasing, right? We are ahead, other banks are chasing. So don't let up, get the needs in front of your product colleagues, okay? Because otherwise, we sit there and we wait for everything, wait for the use case to come out, wait for, the capability to be ready, right? So when the market is ready, right, some other bank has already done that. Okay, so this is areas that we can be first, right? So this is what we mean by best digital bank, all right, for corporates. Now, okay, that's it. Questions?
Oh, sorry, I have 3 questions. But I know, Terence, you covered a London branch and
Yes.
LA rep office.
Yes.
And so my first question is, what is the financial impact from the London branch and Australia branch? Because this is two
Okay.
is a full function branch, and as well as the LA rep office. And what did McKinsey say going forward, how DBS can leverage these three platforms to expand our business in these three markets? And my second question is, we talked about the Gandalf. However, expect for DBS, all the Gandalf have a strong presence in San Francisco Bay Area, Silicon Valley, and we deploy a lot of, I think, resource focus on the Great Bay Area going forward. So I think the Great Bay Area, some of the new idea, new innovation is from Silicon Valley as well. So do we have a plan to deploy some or optimal resource in the Silicon Valley? And my third question is, how can we, going forward, how can we partner with the fintech player in London, Europe, or in Silicon Valley, North America, to expand sort of or further upgrade or optimize our digital transformation?
Okay. All right. So these are more questions actually to my hat that I wear as the boss of the Western markets. I would say that firstly, now I have to do a little bit of advertising. You put me in this position. We put on more than 150 new clients, IBG One clients in the last 4 years from the US and Europe. We include, I think, Australia 20 plus or 30 plus. It's actually the highest growing. I don't think any other location has grown the same number of customers, large cap customers in the same period of time. Okay. Yes, low base. We didn't start with those customers, and we had to go out. But the fact that they all find some appeal to DBS, right, is all around what we can do in Asia. Right? We only sell it from a connectivity story, right, and capabilities that we can have here. Of course, sometimes you have to do some balance sheet work in the US or in London. It's okay, but the main part of what we're doing is the business here. More than about 80% of all the customers that we've onboarded have revenue centers already, and I think we are on par with Singapore outbound with the absolute number of EGs that are all in different countries. Some clients that we have even have 9 revenue centers, right? And you count, does DBS even have 9 markets? Actually, we have, right? So I don't think we are going to change the strategy necessarily to address Silicon Valley. Our business is our US business is based in LA. If anything, we're looking at what we can do to have an East Coast presence, right? Because a lot of our headquarters and clients are actually Chicago and or Midwest and on the East Coast. And we actually now have to fly 5 hours across. It's like, covering Taiwan from Singapore. Okay, it just doesn't make sense, right? Or covering India from Singapore, it also doesn't make sense. So I think we're trying to have a footprint. That's it. Europe, I think, obviously with Brexit, we're also looking to have a little bit more. We're actually going through the thinking process right now. We want to expand European flights more rapidly, and is the right way to set up office right now with very welcoming regulators from Europe. Right? Is there a plan to engage fintechs from Silicon Valley or Europe, whether for any of our core markets, GBA or outside, right? The answer is that our innovation team have been curating lots of fintechs. Actually, these fintechs are coming. We are not going to go and necessarily find them in the Silicon Valley. Right? Tom McCabe in the US does introduce ones that he comes across that may fit our strategy. But actually, there's a receptacle in the innovation team that collates all these fintechs. Because we have the banner of Best Digital Bank, everyone does come to us, right? So we don't actually have to actively go out necessarily. They will come to us to say, you've got the customers, you've got the data, we've got the capability, let's find a use case, let's do a pilot, find us clients to actually work with, right? But the good thing is that we've also shown that we are willing to partner with fintechs. Many of these things, right? Example, sometimes we'll take an equity stake, right? So I think that I think will continue to be the approach. I know you talk about GBA. There's a lot of focus around GBA. In many ways, the Hong Kong and China management are very. There's only kind of one thing to do: get GBA around connectivity, around cross-border, right, and leading into domestic. So kind of more end-to-end supply chain things up, making sure that this really is powered up. Actually, more this bottom part. Does that answer?
So one more.
Yeah.
One more, yeah. What about financial contribution from this market? Because when I joined DBS 11 years ago, the Taiwan branch is a full-function branch, but relatively small in Taiwan market. But now, after 11 years, we have some significant growth in this market.
IBG wise, right? London alone is already the 4th largest franchise.
Around
Singapore, Hong Kong, China,
London.
So I don't, that really sets the context. Because of onshore and offshore. Right? But that's in revenue terms. Actually, our business, we measure ourselves on 5 things. Revenue. But whatever revenue delta that we put on, compared to 5 billion revenue of IBG, you look at how much we grew last year, it's actually very amazing. SME any day will be able to outdo our segment, right? China or Hong Kong, that some Singapore growth, these are big needles that can be moved. We can put on 30, 40, 50 million dollars a year. It's still 1% of the whole thing. It's not so. We will not make our name because of revenue. We will make our name because of liability. Today we are very sensitive about liabilities. We have nearly about 5 odd billion. This year we hope to get about 5 odd billion just in renminbi, rupee, rupiah, right? Let alone in the US dollar space from our MNCs. Right? So it's a very big component. And similarly, those of you who went on calls with me this week, I will ask for liability. Right? Like take some time to get there, but in the meantime, give me a deposit first. Okay? Don't be shy. Please ask for deposit. Please ask for deposit in renminbi, in rupee. Your clients, Taiwan clients, go around the world. They have money outside Taiwan. Please get that. You get credit for it. Just like me, right? I'm not going to make it revenue, make a big thing about revenue. It's around how much liabilities we can get. Because that is what people care about now. Because, right? Third one we do is around anchor spoke. Right? How can we enable more anchor spokes? So I think just like some of you, everyone's got different success cases around anchor spoke, but that's very important. So as we measure that, we measure sort of digital and operating businesses that we get. So that's why I've been kind of one of the early ones to actually put frameworks together, make sure that we're all selling this to MNCs in different countries as well. And I think the last one is around even efficiency, right? Efficiency, to me, the important thing is to be able to sell by journeys. Today you will read, if you look at the digital playbook, there's plenty of use cases. But what I would encourage all of you to do is start thinking of putting 5 or 6, and I think this will be really the powerful way of selling. Make this customer journey thing really real. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so I'm always available. I was allowed to show you this because yesterday I showcased this to Sylvia and May and Sharon, and they thought that, hey, you know, this is easy way to digest what we do, right? So some of you may say, oh, you know what, we don't have these things in Taiwan. No, go and ask them. They are building stuff. They know, they like the idea that with a framework, you know, RMs can go out and pre-sell. How many times I heard Sylvia say, just in one day, pre-sell, pre-sell, pre-sell. Yeah, about 10 times she said pre-sell. So she wants you to go out and pre-sell. Help her build the capability. All right, I'm gonna go. Thank you very much. All right, you can reach me or email.